Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Messages. And today, I actually think this is going to be a shorter episode just because I'm expanding on one of the analogies that I use all the time, which is the idea or the analogy of baking the cake. So if you are listening to this podcast, more than likely you are already in agreement that your state is creative. The energy that you hold, the emotions that you circulate, the state that you put yourself in is what is creating everything else around you. And when I say state, I'm talking about an all-inclusive state. So this means mind, body, soul. This means thought, word, action. All of these things, in order to be consciously creating, all of these things must be congruent, essentially. If you give a mixed bag between these things, you are going to get a mixed bag result. And a lot of the time, what people end up doing is they're holding mixed bag energy. And when inevitably the mixed bag result comes, they get frustrated with themselves, upset, disappointed. It generates more negative emotion because of the original mixed bag frequency that you were giving. So before I get into the mechanics of what's going on and I unpack this a little bit more, I want to let you know that the doors to Dom are still open. If you would like, this is all about personal power, the energetics of power, how you're holding it, and also about what you're enveloping in your field. So it does tie into what we're going to be discussing today as far as the energy and the state that you are in is going to determine what type of circumstances, events, the versions of people that you call in. So Dom is really about dominating your energetic field, really taking radical responsibility for everything that's coming into your space and either using it as data or using it as a way to sharpen your creation or to confirm what you're creating. And then refining that to the point where you're now able to control what it is that you're bringing into your field, what you're conjuring up. And we're doing this from the perspective or the lens of empowerment. So if you feel like you've been getting swept away in circumstances, or if you find yourself outsourcing your desires or the actions that you take based on what other people are doing, if you're getting lost in a collective story that is circulating right now and are saying this is the way it is, I'm powerless, this is the medicine for that. So if you would like to join that, the link is in the description box or the show notes, depending on where you're listening to this. It's onyxhealing.com/dom, D-O-M, and we're going to have a really good time. That is happening on August 29th. So if you want to come hang out with me, it's a very dense training. Dense. So it is $222 to get in. And I want to let you know it is going to increase in price after we go live. So once I put the replay up for sale, it is going to increase. So if you want to get in and get the replay and all of the things, you are more than welcome to join us. I don't suspect that I'll be teaching this again. This is going to be one thing. I record it and then I put it up on my website to buy the replay. But if you want to be there live, if you want to be a part of the Q&A that I'm going to do sometime in September and go a little bit deeper with it, definitely get in now so you can be a part of the live container and ask relevant questions that you may have, and you have direct access to me if you're showing up and if you get in before I put up the replay. So that is the invitation for you if you would like to join. But let's go ahead and get back into the meat of this podcast. When I am describing the analogy of what are you putting in the cake, how are you baking the cake, what that's really pointing to is what is the quality of ingredients that you are adding to this recipe, because that is going to be what you pull out of the oven. When it gets delivered, that's exactly what you're going to get. So if you're sloppy, if you're putting low quality ingredients, if you're not measuring, if you're just whatever, flying by the seat of your pants, not being intentional. And let me be clear, intentionality does not mean that you have every waking detail of how it's going to come about and what exactly the components are. That's not what I'm talking about in terms of quality or intentionality. This is a matter of your state, the energetics that you are bringing into the creation. So something like doubt is a low quality ingredient. Fear is a low quality ingredient. Stress is a low quality ingredient. So you can imagine all of those emotions that put you in distress or create some type of pain, suffering, agony. If you're adding those to the cake, you're going to get that result on the other side. You can be as general or specific with a creation, but what matters most is how do you feel about it? What is the sensation of it? How potent is your desire? Are you connected to a why? Do you feel the version of you that evolves into this as you receive it? Because that's another great question to ask yourself in your creation process. Is receiving this thing, who do I become as I experience that thing? Let's just take money, for example. You want more money. Okay, so who do you become as the person with more money? Or you want a relationship. Who do you become as a person in a relationship or in this really wonderful relationship? By tuning into that, you can actually feel the ingredients. You can get a really potent set of feeling states that you can start weaving into the mix. Even without getting too technical here, I think all of you have an innate understanding of what clean energy is and messy or dirty energy is. So again, that feeling of doubt and fear, that's obviously not clean energy. That's not a sharp, crisp focus. So if you're getting your mind, body, and spirit all on board, the mental body is the container for your focus. So how are you focusing the mind? What are the things that you are drilling into your brain? What's the track that you're carving out that's repetitive so you can get to that mental destination faster rather than having to go through a rigmarole of having to coax yourself into it? That's a process of sharpening your energy, sharpening your thought. And the clearer and sharper your thoughts get, the easier this process will be and the faster you will get there mentally. On a body level, this is sensation. This is present time. How are you feeling? What are the repetitive feelings that you're bringing into the body and circulating? And then tweaking those if need be. Do you need to get some movement in? Do you need to do some breath work? Do you need to shift some energy? Do you need to work out? Going to body-based practices will clear up anything that feels stagnant, heavy, painful, so on and so forth. And then spirit is already there. So your soul is already in the exact spot that you desire to be. It has all of the things that you're talking about wanting right this moment. So the thing is, you don't even need to worry about your spirit. You just have to be able to hear that part of yourself. And this is usually done through getting the mind to be quiet and allowing that inspiration to drop in. Your mind will interpret that information, of course, but it's the mental chatter that is coming from the ego that's not helpful. But if it's coming from your soul, it's going to feel good. Your body is going to feel this sensation of absolutely, yes, this is what I want, this is what I desire, and it's going to be clear. So the bottom line, your feelings will show you whether or not it is clean energy or not. The better it makes you feel, the cleaner the energy is. The crisper it is, the cleaner it is. So if it's sharp, if it's potent, if it's clear, if it's like a lightning bolt of clarity, that is, let's just say, an aligned, clean, energetic state. At the current moment, the one-on-one clients that I have right now are working on really big things. So they have really large projects that they're working on and these big leaps that they're going to be taking. One of the things, part of my job is keeping a very close eye on the ingredients that they're adding to the cake that they're baking. Because when I'm watching them talk about something or the energy that they're holding, they might have a blind spot around something and I have to cut in and help them make adjustments so they work that out of the recipe before they throw the thing in the oven. We need to correct this now so that you can keep your energy super clean so that you don't get that on the other side once it's fully cooked. I'll give a really clear example. I'm sure many of you have experienced this. Let's say you're having stress about money. You don't know how it's going to come through. You don't know how you're going to make it. You are stressed and anxious and frantic, and you're like, I don't even know if I'm going to make it. It's really kicking you into fight or flight, okay? And you're doing your best to keep the faith. You're doing your best, but there's a lot of mixed energy inside this cake that you're baking. So if you're aiming at a particular financial result, and you're maybe getting your energy on board 30% of the time, that 30% where you're feeling solid definitely has the power to override the negative emotion. But the type of result that you're going to get and the quality of result that you're going to get is probably going to look like there's just enough, and it came at the 11th hour. It came and I made it right by the skin of my teeth. Why does this happen? It happens because the energy that you're holding and what you're available for is going to match the result. So you put too many low quality ingredients in the cake. You were too tangled up in doubt. You were too tangled up in fear. You were too tangled up in this is going to be a close call. I've done that too. I can do that with large quantities of money. Like, it's going to be tight. And really, I'm dealing with much larger numbers that I did when I was in college, let's say. But the same principle applies. If you are saying something like, this is going to be a close call, I'm just barely making it by the skin of my teeth. I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know when it's going to come through. I'm really nervous that God doesn't have my back right now. Well, you're baking that into the cake. If you don't clean that part up, then it's going to present itself to you in the environment, in the situation, the circumstance, the ultimate result of what you're getting. Now, what I will say is that all refinement is rewarded, as in all refinement is what's going to ultimately be seen in your external world. So this isn't to say, you suck at this, you're not doing it right, you're not getting there fast enough. No. Cut all that out. That's nonsense. Punishing yourself and being hard on yourself does nothing for no one. But if you can bring more intentionality to this, making it a practice to relax, because you could imagine if in this situation with the money, if you just added maybe 10% relaxation, you just added that, then the way that the money comes in and the feeling of the money coming in is going to be 10% more relaxed. That's a big improvement. If you're feeling a little bit more relaxed when it comes in, or you're feeling a little bit more conviction about the money arriving, if you're feeling a little bit more certainty, that's going to make a world of difference. If you feel stressed about the money coming in, you're going to feel stressed when the money comes in. If you feel frantic about the money, you're going to feel frantic when it comes in. It's always going to reflect itself, even if it ultimately turns out okay. It's like, okay, let's assume that everything turns out okay. That's the desired result. That's the cake you want to bake. Now, how do you want to receive it? That's a better question. Do you want to receive it in a way that feels really agonizing, or do you want to feel it in a way that's pleasurable, that feels good, that feels exciting, that feels like an adventure, that feels like you're in your power, that you're creating? By asking yourself these things, you can sync up the energy of what you want to get when the cake comes out of the oven. So you really want to focus on, okay, I am adding all of these ingredients so then when it comes out of the oven, it's delicious to eat. Because frustration and fear and doubt and coming super, super close, receiving at the 11th hour, that is not a delicious cake. So in this practice, if you can add dimensions and flavors and frequencies that feel better, piece by piece by piece, then you're going to be really satisfied with the result increasingly over time. And it's a skill that you're going to build. Don't aim for perfection, aim for refinement over a long period of time. Cheer for the 5-10% improvement that you create. Aim for that. Aim for getting better and better and better, not getting it immediately right all at the same time. That's very difficult to achieve. So let's talk for a moment about when you're not getting what you want, or you don't like how you received something, or there was some funk in the cake that came out of the oven. As I mentioned before, I think people's knee-jerk reaction is to be mad, or be frustrated, or feel disappointment, or something of the sort. I think this is a waste of your time and emotion, if I'm being totally honest. It's not that there aren't some things where it's like, fuck, I thought I had this. Of course that comes up from time to time, but what I'm really talking about is when something doesn't go your way and it's not exactly how you wanted it to be, and it resulted in a mixed bag manifestation, a mixed bag energetic cake. That's data. It's data. It's pointing you back to, okay, what didn't you clean up in your energetic field that you're having reflected to you? That's it. That's all it is. It's not a crisis. Of course, I'm not talking about big tragedies or something really excruciating that happens. I'm not talking about the extremes. I'm talking about the little stuff that you're being intentional about. The more you hold the energy of, I'm not getting this right, I'm bad at this isn't working for me, the more you're going to get that. You're now adding that to the next cake. So you need to be really careful with your internal dialogue, because that is being added to the mix. The more you hold, I suck at this, I'm not doing it right, this self-loathing story, beware of that. Instead, if you treat it more neutrally, you treat it a little bit more linear. I think this is one of the greatest areas where we can use linear thinking and go heavy on the logic, okay? Whereas if you received something you're not a fan of, or that didn't turn out exactly how you wanted, maybe it was only like 20% what you wanted, but it wasn't quite right, and it was filled with a bunch of other feelings that you're not really into either, then that is redirecting you to course correct, to refine, to get sharper and clearer in what you're adding. And so if you see it clearly as data, and you're thinking about it linearly, then you can say, okay, fantastic, I can just shift and tweak these pieces. And that means that the next time I bake this cake, it is going to turn out completely differently. It's going to turn out more so in alignment with what I want than I experienced before. As you develop this skill and as you get more refined, and again, refinement is thought, word, action, mind, body, spirit. Where are all of these pieces of yourself relative to what you want? And when you get them all in sync, then that is going to make your life a lot easier. So by refining this skill, you can add even more dimensions to the things that you call in. You can add flavors and textures and all sorts of cool stuff that you would like to see unfold. You can add this to your cake, but you have to really get clear with the basics first as to not overwhelm yourself and just ease into refining, getting clear energetically on what you want and holding to that before you start adding things to it. But understand there's no limit in terms of depth. You can go as deep with this practice as you want. You can make it as tailor-made for you as you want, right? These are all your creations. It's your fucking cake. Do whatever you want with it. But understand that the quality of ingredients is what you're going for. And the more that you pay attention to what am I adding to this and then adjusting, that is what will make this better and easier and more potent. One other thing that I want to mention before I sign off is that if you do have a negative emotion come up or some doubt or fear or anything of the sort, in my experience, the universe is going to give you time to adjust and clean that up. So don't be afraid of your own thoughts. That's another thing that people get really tripped up on is, no, I had that bad thought. I can't have that bad thought. It's not like that. The reason why there's a delay in 3D experiences is because you do need the time. You need to be given some grace so you can make some refinements before it comes in. It's not that it's a done deal as soon as you have the thought or as soon as you do the thing that it's going to ruin everything else. It's more complicated than that. So understand that refinement will override a single bad thought or a single bad day. This is a process, it's a practice, and you're given the 3D world so you can take your time so that you can refine this. It's a gift. If everything was instantaneous, well, that would really suck because every negative thought would manifest instantaneously. That's not how it works. It's much slower than that. When you get really, really masterful at this, then it becomes what we could call instantaneous, where the amount of time that is experienced in between the desire and the receiving of the thing is completely collapsed, where things come in rapid pace. So that is something that is possible, but understand that the way this dimension works in 3D is actually a gift because it's not instantaneous, and that works in your favor when you're practicing this. So that's all that I have for you today. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget, if you would like to come hang out and join Dom, you are more than welcome to. It's going to be on August 29th. And go to onyxhealing.com/Dom if you'd like to check it out. It's going to be super fun. I'm really excited about this. I would say this is one of my most important teachings ever. So if you want to check that out, you're more than welcome to. I will see you inside that container. Have an awesome week, everybody, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.